Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. All our guests are still with us, and of course, it's part of generating consensus on positive action to be taken to drastically reduce the level of insecurity in the country. Let's bring in again Honorable Bamidele Salami. One point that keeps coming up is inadequate personnel, inadequate logistic resources, and so on and so forth. And yesterday, while we had the part one of this conversation, that matter also came up. Say the police, we keep saying the police, they're around about 300,000 or 320,000, as an example. And there are also reports that about a third of those personnel are on duties that are not strictly policing, except that there are many persons have taken advantage of it, and there is some mercantilism, as one of our guests said yesterday, in all of this. So you have policemen who are doing VIP protection, very well starched uniform with guns, and then they sit down in the offices. They don't patrol their beats. Nobody is there, to protect the citizenry. One of our guests also pointed out that years past, the MPU was a feared outfit. That's the mobile police unit.
Yes, please.
What we call MOPO, a feared unit, and it served as a buffer between the regular police and the military.
Exactly.
So that you drafted the anti-riot police into situations if they got out of hand before you brought in the military. Today, everybody's just lumped together. Some of them, you see them, we have seen photographs, probably some of them with Asians, carrying an umbrella, to cover them at our public expense. And then we keep saying that we don't have adequate personnel.
Yes, you see, we're a country that plants tomatoes and hope to reap maize. Talking about the personnel, even apart from the fact that we have, people who are deployed to very critical areas, to operate, thereby thinning out even the little personnel we have, we also have to consider the process of recruitment into our security agencies. What percentage of the present members of the armed forces, the police, the DSS, the civil defense is actually fit for that job? Now, we carry on, in this way. If you look at what happens even in some other countries of the world, even if they don't have the strength in terms of the number, they have the strength in terms of the logistics and the equipment. And that today, in the technological driven way, is even superior to the number. But today, when you want to recruit into the police, into the civil defense and everything, we all sit down somewhere and share out slots. People who come into the police only because they graduated and they don't have a job. Not because they have a passion for policing. Yes. Not because they have the stamina, the intellectual wherewithal to go into the security agencies. You employ somebody into a secret service without the necessary aptitude and the strength and the character, only because he has somebody with a green or red barrel recommending him. That's the only thing that brings him in. Right. So these are problems that we all have to confront because we have refused to go the path of sanity as a people. I'm talking like this because that is my conviction.
You're saying the elite class, not the people, not the
of course, it's the governors, the government of the country, the people who are in leadership position that are responsible for this.
Yes.
And this is why there should be a charge on Mr. President. He is the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Nigeria, for God's sake. He needs to do far more than what we're having. It's not about a Garba Shehu or Femi Adesina coming to talk to Nigerians. The president at a time like this needs to be more upbeat. He needs to be seen. He needs to be heard. He needs to charge the process. He needs to come out and declare the enough is enough on some of the legislation that we have. No amount of resolution or law or whatever that comes from the National Assembly will go anyway if the president himself is not ready to stand up and see the threat ahead of us and confront it. And like I said, we are talking now about immediate solutions. Now, there are other long-term issues that we need to confront with. The issue of education, like we mentioned. In most of the states where you have all these bandits going into the forest today, these are the places with the highest level of poverty in Nigeria and the highest illiteracy level. Those are the places where so there is a direct correlation between education, between economic well-being and insecurity. And the times that we are today, are times such that people cannot even feed well as a people. All the monies we are voting into social investment programs, where are they going? How many people are actually receiving these monies that are meant to serve as a buffer for them economically? So these are all the issues that we have to tackle together as a people, not only to nip the present problem in the bud, but to prevent even the larger one that will come ahead if you continue like that. And like I said, the buck stops on the table of the president. He is the father of the nation, the leader of the nation, and we expect him to come out and do far more than what is being done today, so that it will be recorded of him that at the time when he was president of Nigeria, he saw a problem and he solved a problem.
All right. All right, it's well stated. Let's talk about the issue of, inviting mercenaries or rather seeking foreign assistance, to assist Nigeria in ensuring that we stem the tide of criminality in Nigeria. Just a few days ago, the president called on America, an American government, to relocate African headquarters from Stuttgart, Germany, down to Africa. And you may recall also that when Boko Haram started, that there was a call by certain individuals for Nigeria to allow the U.S. or any other country wishing to assist us to come in. But then the army chief said no to that Nigeria is capable of handling our own internal insecurity matters. But today we have seen that it is no longer that way. Now that the president has called for AFRICOM to come to Africa, for them to, because if it's meant for Africa, why stay in Germany? Come to Africa, relocate in Africa, and then see how we can benefit from their assistance. Is it a possibility? I'm talking to Habila Joshua. Is there a possibility, that if AFRICOM comes down to Africa, assuming we say, okay, come to Nigeria, we'll give them a space in Nigeria, how would that play out, in terms of fighting insecurity in Nigeria, if that is allowed to take place?
Well, if Mr. President have decided to say so, then the intelligence and information at his disposal must have indicated that. And so if we're arguing, we should be careful to look at that there must have been some intelligence, there must have been information intelligence that warrant that. And you can also see that because the morale of the security agencies, whether the military or the police, is being dampened because they're hunting for them and they are hacking them down. And when you do that, you create a situation where a lot of those who are supposed to stand up and have the gallantry to face what is coming at their face, their morale will be dampened. That is one. Two, I'm sure that it's going to, if they come, they are not coming to take the job of all this of what we're doing here, but they are coming to strengthen. And then some of the things that we've not done, they may likely do. They may also come in with equipments and logistics that will enable us to fill in the gap. Like I said, I have followed keenly some of the arguments and some of the reasons that are put across by the security agencies and the military. And they've always said they need more equipment. I have been to Operation Lafia Dole. I've been to the flashpoints, whether it's in Yobe, or it's in Maiduguri, or it's in Zamfara, or it's in Niger, or it's in Benue. I have truncated those areas and I've had sufficient time, and I know that equipment and more personnel have been the problem.
What kind of equipment are we talking about here? Is it the AK-47?
Whether the helicopters,
armored carriers, is it the helicopters,
personnel armored carriers. If you have a personnel armored carrier, you will be able to go into where people are even shooting, to be able to take down those who are doing what they're doing.
I don't know. Well, thanks, DIG. Sometimes there are also economic benefits to these issues. We're going to go to Group Captain Sadiq Garba now to also speak on the AFRICOM idea as well as getting the mercenaries. But let's also point out, because when we're talking about getting equipment, getting logistics, and so on and so forth, certain countries around the world normally use occasions such as this to drive their military-industrial complex, where you can repurpose industries to help you produce this. I know that there's a factory somewhere in the southwest, I think it's Shagamu also, that produces APCs, and I've seen the APC displayed here in Abuja. You say, look, this is what you're going to produce. And Namco produces trucks. You can reconfigure your assembly line to help you produce, some of this. Not that you will say National Assembly will appropriate money now. I don't know, maybe it runs into billions, and the next thing, everybody goes out, to go and bring this in, and people are still jobless in Nigeria. So that's part of the thing that we also need to consider when we are doing this. Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu, let's get your take on the call for the use of mercenaries and the request for the relocation of the headquarters of AFRICOM from Germany to Africa, most likely Nigeria.
Thank you very much. By way of background, we must remember that the issue of AFRICOM coming to Nigeria or to Gulf of Guinea started actually in 2007 when the AFRICOM was established. I could remember vividly in November of that year when AFRICOM was established by President Bush, and they showed their preference to have the headquarters of that AFRICOM in the Gulf of Guinea. Some people say Nigeria, but whatever reason within the region. They recognize Nigeria as an important hegemonic power in that Gulf of Guinea. So, of course, they made overtures to Nigeria to get Nigeria's acceptance for AFRICOM to be sited in the Gulf of Guinea. Later, President Eradua, who was in power at that time, called a meeting of National Security Council, and at the National Security Council, decision was unanimous that it will not be in Nigeria's interest or Africa's interest to have AFRICOM. So subsequently, I think the U.S. government made overtures. They had the interest in Equatorial Guinea, Liberia, and then in Southern Africa, like countries like Botswana. But unanimously, almost all the African leaders, as of 2007, felt that it will not be in African interest to have such presence on the continent. Of course, there are issues of our colonial history. Some people see it as neo-colonialism or another form of oppression. So the Americans been very pragmatic. They drew back on hosting the AFRICOM in Africa, which would have been their best option, because over those years, around up to 2007, beginning with Bush's this thing, if you find all the other continents, Americans have elaborate bases and forces that are dedicated to those continents, but they didn't have in Africa. But with the resurgence of African economy and trade, they felt that they should have a presence in Africa, if not for anything, to counter the emergence of Chinese influence and Russian influence. But with this, resistance by Africa, especially when it was coming just after the Iraqi invasion, African leaders felt that having such a distance would be a prelude to, swamping another country. So the Americans made a tactical withdrawal and took their AFRICOM to Germany. However, now that this issue has come, we have to ask, I am talking of 2007 and we're talking of now. Like they say in international diplomacy, there is realism. There is also this aspect of there is no permanent friend or permanent enemy, only permanent interest. That was 2007. There was no Boko Haram. There was no ISIS. Nigeria was not having bandits, kidnappers, IPOB, and all the other security challenges. Certainly from 2007 to now 2021, the geopolitical security situation has changed. It is in that reality we have to look. Do we change our position, which has been not to accept the base and take it here? Again, like Mr. Habila said, I am sure policymakers, even though the president has uttered a sentence on that, I think the policymakers, because it is something that has not only economic, it also has social and many other implications when a country accepts. Now, in general, accepting a foreign base is a kind of symbiosis relationship between the country that is sending troops and then the host country. Like somebody again said here, there are issues of economy. There are many motivations that will make a country to accept to host a base. In Nigeria, we had that debate as early as 1958, just before independence, when we wanted to enter into Anglo-Nigeria Defense Pact that will allow the British to have a defense pact. Of course, the nationalists of that time eventually jettisoned the idea and the pact was never signed. Now we have to look, what are those benefits that having American, AFRICOM have in Nigeria? So many...
Group Captain Sadiq Garba, well, I'm sorry we have to really cut you short there because time is beckoning on us to actually sign off this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. And I'd like to appreciate you for your contribution this morning. Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu, retired security and defense consultant and expert in Safe School Declaration. Thank you indeed. And of course, we also like to thank member House of Representatives, Honorable Bemdele Salami. We thank you so much. Well, after your meeting on the declaration of self-emergency on insecurity, we'll get to know more about it after that, perhaps on this platform. All right. Dr. Joseph Ochogu, Associate Research Professor, Head Research and Policy Analysis, Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, Abuja. Thank you indeed for bringing us to the issue of anatomy of violence in Nigeria. Thank you so much for that. And Habila Joshak is a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police Operations of the Nigerian Police Force. We thank you, as always, because he's always here with us when we bring up the issue of insecurity. Now, we have the Nigeria's representative in the CAF Confederation, Enyimba Football Club of Aba, has qualified for the quarterfinals after beating Orlando Pirates of South Africa by a lone goal in Aba.
All right, so that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. We thank you for tuning in. We're back tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, do take care of yourself. I am Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Kirian Umayo. Have a great day.